Good morning, this is Jack from Chartered Markets, and this is the pre-market webinar for the morning of Friday, the 9th of January. My disclaimer, I do this for educational purposes only. I'm here to share my technical analysis with you. I hope you can take some of what I'm doing, learn from it, transfer it to your own charts, and I'm not here to shoot trading signals. Right, this is a video for paying subscribers at chartedmarkets.subset.com, and it's published on YouTube after a delay of 24 hours. All right, this is starting to look pretty interesting here because we've got yesterday, although we didn't have a lot happening on ES, but we're seeing more this morning. What we did have was we had RTY and IWM make the bull flag target. So we made it all the way back up to the high. Looking at NQ, didn't see an awful lot happening there. But to be honest, this was the most tentative of the retest of the all-time high setups. I do have a flag which has broken up here. It's not on this chart. It's on the RTH one. And it could be that we're going to make that one. But right now, we've got a pretty nice looking topping setup. And I'll be going through that. All right, so on ES, pretty close to the all-time highs. Already delivered a retest on that. This flag has already made target. NQ, this flag has already made target, which was because that target was a retest of this high here. We do have one on the RTH chart, which has broken up with the target at a retest all-time high. Come on, Doug. On RTY, we've made the target. We've got a 60-minute sell signal fixed. If we didn't already have one, another one would be brewing, but we have made the bull flag target at a retest of this high. So basically all the targets that I was talking about last Friday, apart from the possible retest of the high of the all-time high on on NDX, have all been delivered. On YM, we'd already made a new all-time high, of course, might be coming back in for another one. On DAX, we never stopped making new all-time highs. On ESTX, we didn't stop either. All right, let's have a look at the bigger picture charts. And on ES, we didn't make it back to the daily middle band. Thought about it, but it's gone directly up. And I'm thinking we may well retest the highs today. If so, we will make probably another new all-time high. In terms of the topping setup here, let's have a look at how it's looking from the April low. And here, this is the April low. This is the top within the wedge, and this is a very nice looking potential nested double top. If we were to go down from here, well, we'd have a small double top target, which would be down here at about the 66.60, 66.70 area. But obviously, if we saw a sustained break below 65.21, then that would have a target in about the 61.21 area. And that's what I'm wondering about here. But this is the setup from April, and this is wedge, breakdown, topping up. Now, it could be that we're going to go back up, expand the wedge, and so on, but this is an inflection point. All right, looking at the 15-minute chart, not a lot to see. We made the RSI 14 sell signal from yesterday. Okay, on Qs. Qs, we're holding the daily middle band, and we tested it yesterday. Obviously, this has been the weakest. Now, in terms of that, from the April low, we've got a very nice looking rising wedge. This is a slight overthrow. This is the breakdown. Do we have a topping pattern here? No. We got a short-term one. We got a, but even arguably that is questionable. This is that's a lower high. That's a lower high. Could be forming a triangle here, but in terms of topping pattern, this is the one that hasn't retested the high, and this is the one that doesn't have a topping pattern. So waiting to see how that develops. This is the overall flag that has broken up, and it's a flag channel. It's nice. We didn't go down and test the support, which is something I was wondering about. And this breakup is suggesting that we may well go up and retest this high here at 636.19. And I'm thinking we may go and do that, although I have to say Qs have been pretty weak because otherwise we don't really have a topping pattern here. Although we could, of course, always come down to this area or a couple of other options and form a head and shoulders. All right, on Dia, we've got a beautiful new improved wedge here, and it's a peach. So, do we have a big topping pattern here? No. Although we could of course form one. In terms of the short term, looks as though we might retest this high today, and that will give us a small one, but we don't have a pattern like the one on SPX or IWM here. In terms of the hourly chart, we've got an RSI 14 sell signal fixed, nothing on the 15-minute really. But another retest of the high would give us a small topping pattern, but not a large one. All right, looking at IWM. IWM, looking at the move up from April. This is the April low, of course. This is the wedge we've broken down, and we've gone a bit higher. We've got a very nice looking little level top here. A sustained break below 245 would get us back into, say, about the 232 area. And we've got options to form a potential head and shoulders or have a very asymmetric double top here. Not a bad topping setup here. I am wondering whether we might make a move up that could give us a larger wedge. Do we have? I'm just going to have a quick look at trendline options. So bear with me a moment. I'm not. Last time I looked, I wasn't seeing anything close that looked good. All right, this one. Okay, I am wondering about this one. This one would basically expand the wedge and have it. A moment. Yeah, actually, that's not bad. Let's have a look at it. Let's see how that looks. All right, this one, like Dyer, the wedge would be intact, would have expanded, and actually, this is a pretty decent looking trend line, and it's a nice, beautiful anchor. Okay, that's pretty decent. We've seen a. Is that? I don't think that's a perfect trend line. I think that would involve a slight break over resistance. No, it's close to perfect. All right. In that case, we do have a larger rising wedge here, and it's a peach. In terms of a topping pattern, relatively small, but we could form a larger one. Waiting to see. I think I'm planning a post on risks this year, and we've got a lot of them. So obviously the administration is trigger happy, to say the least, both inside and outside the USA. It's so there are. I mean, with this Greenland stuff, there's actually even the risk of, incredible as it might seem, of getting into a sort of economic war with a lot of traditional US allies over the Greenland thing. Potentially, we could see sanctions if further steps are taken. And to be honest, it's causing a lot of hostility just talking about it. It's we've got tariffs are still a problem. So American farming's in the toilet. Manufacturing's been in recession for 9 months. AI is pretty obviously in a bubble. Economics 101. Economics 101. When I was studying economics at high school level, one of the examples they used about like Keynesian economics was they were saying that one way that you could increase demand was just without raising the overall tax rate, was to redistribute money, i.e., you would you would raise taxes for rich people and you would lower taxes for poorer people, and because poorer people spend a larger proportion of their income, then that would increase overall demand. In effect, what the US has done over the last year is the opposite. The big beautiful bill was the opposite. It raised taxes basically on tariffs, which are a tax. They considerably raised taxes on lower income people and lowered them for higher. And of course, that will suck demand out of the economy. That's economics 101. So, I mean, a demand increase, even with the increase in borrowing here, which is another risk problem, all of its own. So the big beautiful bill is going to suck demand out of the economy. I don't see any particularly good upside this year. That's going to weaken the prospects for the stock market, which I do not think are that strong this year. We'll see how this goes. And bubbles, well, they can last a while before they burst. But I got to say, Trump's doing almost everything to weaken the economy that he could. Not deliberately, I'm sure, but unintentionally, just because he's ignorant. We'll see how that develops, but there's a lot of risk on the downside here, and I'm watching this setup here, and this is pretty nice. It really is. Doesn't mean it's got to turn around. We've got an inflection point here. We've got some nice looking topping setups, and I'm wondering. So we shall see. All right, great. Let's have a look at the dollar. We've got a double bottom which is broken up. We're making more progress towards that. We have a little bit of negative divergence. Looking at the Supporting charts, USD getting pretty close to the double top target, but we've got a 60-minute buy signal brewing. GBP, we've got a 60-minute buy signal fixed. I am wondering about rallies here. On USD/JPY, we've almost made, I was talking about unfinished business at a retest of this high. We've almost made that now. No current negative divergence, but USD/CAD, we've got a possible 60-minute sell signal brewing. Australian dollar, we've got a 60-minute buy signal fixed. NZ, we've got a possible 60-minute buy signal brewing, although we've got a big double top, which is now broken down on NZ. Nothing on CAD, which I've been watching, and the Australian dollar one is getting pretty close to support, but hasn't broken down yet. Overall, I'm leaning towards seeing a bit of a pullback on DX today. On ZB, bigger picture, bonds are in trouble. A bigger picture. Could this rally continue? Yes. Is this a likely bearish consolidation? Yes. I think either a flag or a triangle forming here. On ZN, very, very much looks like a triangle. Either way, I'm expecting these to break down. I'm not expecting good things to happen on bonds over the next few months or over this year as a whole. On CL, we've seen a nice little rally here. So far, this is just consolidating sideways. I've talked about oil prices. I think the idea that oil price is going to go back to 40 is going to be, it's going to be exceptionally unpopular with a lot of big oil donors. So I don't know quite why Trump's so keen on it. I think possibly because of cost of living. But really, at that stage, practically the entire US oil industry would be making a loss on every barrel they produced. Right. HO, we saw a nice rally yesterday. We've got a 60-minute sell signal fixed. We've got a weak 60-minute sell signal fixed on RBOB, and this nice looking double bottom, which is broken up with a target in the 1.856 to 1.863 area. I'm leaning towards seeing a bit more pullback here, but we may well be going up afterwards on NG. NG, we are still halfway between the gutter and the stars here. So are we going to break up in this double bottom, or are we going to break down? Overall, I'm leaning towards a breakdown, but there's no denying, as we retest this low, that we've got a pretty nice looking bottoming setup here. So waiting to see if it can actually power down, which I think it's probably going to. All right, GC. GC, we still haven't made this IHS target. So weak 6-minute sell signal reached possible near miss target. I think we're going to have another crack at a retest of the high. Although, SI, we've got a very nice looking double top here already. This head and shoulders made the target area without actually quite making the target. But really, I think I'm inclined to count that as actually made already. In which case, are we going to go back and retest the high? On Palladium, we haven't got a sell signal anymore. Actually, we do have a little bit of negative divergence here, and this could be a little level top, but I'm really thinking that the IHS may be breaking up with, we've got an open target in the 2010 area, and I'm wondering about a retest this high here in about the 2140 area. Looking at platinum, we've got an IHS that's broken up here, and that almost fell, but didn't. So at the moment, that's still in play. So waiting to see if that comes down further and fails, but otherwise, we've still got to retarget and retest this high. On HG, very nice looking potential topping pattern here, topping setup here. We have got head and shoulders, which is broken down with a target of 5.57 area, and that has just failed. So I'll just mark that in. So that is suggesting we see a retest of the high. So really, on the metals, precious and otherwise, I'm leaning towards high retests here. So we will see how that goes. All right, great. Okay, let's have a look at the KC chart. KC, we've got a little top here, which is broken down with a target in the 360 area. We have a 60-minute sell signal fixed, and that hasn't reached the possible near miss target yet. Bigger picture, we're no longer forming a bear flag. So I'm keeping an open mind on direction. Bigger picture, I'm leaning towards the downside. Sugar, likely overall bear flag forming. CC, likely overall bull flag forming. CT, double bottom is broken up with a target in the 66.8 to 67 area on lumber. Lumber, we retested the low. This was a likely flag, as I was saying, and we've got an inflection point here, whether we choose whether to go down, which I think is the obvious direction, or to potentially get a double bottom here. On ZW, nice looking double bottom here, 60-minute sell signal is fixed, and I'm thinking that might have a shot. On corn, We've got a 3-touch support trend line here, and it's very, very nice. Normally, these sort of trend lines have friends. So the question is, what would the corresponding trend line look like? There are a couple of options. We need that next high to be sure. Soy, seeing a bit of a rally here, bigger picture, not seeing anything much to be optimistic about unless the Chinese really do start buying. On ZL, we've got a possible flag forming here, which kind of fits with the Chinese situation at the moment. On lean hogs, live cattle, we've broken up over the week to pivot and have been back testing that. So this previous ceiling is starting to look like a floor. On HE, we've got a potential level top here and waiting to see whether we hold the monthly pivot and go up or break that and potentially retrace down into about the 81 area. All right, great. Let's have a quick look at questions. All right, my pleasure as always, guys. And we will see how it goes today. Be aware that in terms of the targets I was thinking we might reach and then see a retracement, we've now made all of those targets pretty much. Although ideally we'd go up a little more and make the new all-time high on Qs, but really I'm watching out for signs that we're going to see a reversal here. Not seeing anything strong here today. But I'm watching the space. All right, cheers, guys. Have a great weekend, and I'll see everyone again on Monday morning.